Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 340. Jump on in, see what shows up. Trial number 1 button. best choice of the day. And all right, not a bad set of champions. I could realistically see us taking any of these to 7 wins, and then I think I'm just going to come in here and take this Grand Moments Lux. We got through the Grand Moments Heimerdinger in the previous trial. Not too much success, but let's go ahead and take a chance and move in on this Lux. And so it's a pretty powerful card pool. We'll take a moment and get it pulled up on the site and talk about it a little bit more. And so if you're not familiar, it's ftpbus.com. It's where I keep all of my expedition related content. We're just going to be over here on the main page and scroll our way down to Lux and take a peek at the cards that live over in this card pool. And so, there's a few different ways that you can go to build around Lux. It basically boils down to do I want to get like just a big mix of spells? And so, do I want to pick up, another Piltover champion, try to get access to things like Flash of Brilliance? Do I want to maybe make like a challengers based deck to where we're going to be using prismatic barriers and riposts, and so we get kind of double value if we get a hook and then get a riposte, and then the riposte counts towards 4 mana towards Lux, or the way that I ultimately recommend drafting this, which is having spells that generate units. And so the way I typically look to build a Lux deck, the real key component to the deck is going to be Remembrance. And so we're our big game plan for having success here is just not to play anything the first 2 turns, bank up that spell mana, and then on turn 3 we'll play Remembrance. And so that will activate all of our Mage Seekers. So the big Mage Seeker being the Investigator that generates Detains, but also the Insider and the Persuader. So those will be activated for the rest of the game, and then we're just going to have this real meaty unit on the board. Ideally, it would be the Challenger Dragon, but generating any 5/5 on the 3rd turn is usually enough to slow down any gains your opponent got from you not playing anything the first couple of turns. And then kind of on the flip side, if Lux is already on the board, generating a big unit and a final spark off of 1 card is a pretty good deal. And so the big one we look to build towards is Remembrance. On the cheaper side of this, we have Succession. And then on the more expensive side of things, we have Reinforcements. And so I really look for those to be the core of my deck. And then after that, we really just do kind of the standard thing to where we try to manage a decent curve. We'll try to pick up any of these Mage Seekers within reason, and typically be pretty good to go from there. I do always like to put in one back-to-back in these style of decks, but nothing too fancy that in that direction. But this can easily pivot into some other good things. Like if we're in the full Demacia set, then we've kind of already picked up some pretty good elites cards between Succession and Reinforcements, and so this can easily enough like pivot into elites or just get some like minor synergies from elites. Can do some pretty neat things, but we'll see. If we do pursue Lux and go for the full build around, I do like these spells that generate units as our main means of activations here. Okay, and so here, it brings up a real interesting decision. We actually just talked about a bit of this in a group chat, in that what do you think about actually picking up Piltover if we're going to try and build towards Lux? I personally don't like to do it. And my big problem with this is there are just a absolute ton of Piltover cards that just aren't that good. I don't want any of the cards that generate puff caps. I don't want iterative improvements. I don't want puff cap peddlers. I don't want things like back alley barkeep. There's just a shit ton of horrible cards. Like, it's real easy to be like, yeah, I want to pick up, Mystic Shots and Flash of Brilliances and Thermogenic Beams, but the majority of our packs, the rest of the way, are going to have a bunch of terrible cards in it. And then what I think is like the biggest problem is if we're going to sit out and say, hey, the absolute most important card for the success of this draft is Remembrance. And then if we're just kind of like coin flipping the rest of the way, if our Grand Moments packs are just going to be a double Piltover selection, then it just doesn't feel worth it to me. I really don't want to do anything that I can to minimize my chances of hitting Remembrances. And so as far as this goes, if I think the kind of the flip side, the way to look at this is like, do I fully plan on building around Lux? Then don't take Piltover. And then if the Piltover champion is good enough to where you're like, well, Lux is going to be kind of put on the back burner. I want to build towards Victor, then, by all means, go for it. But if your intent is to build the Lux, I don't think this is a very good pickup. It's like, yes, you can get some value out of iterative improvements. Ballistic Bot generates a spell every turn. I just don't think it's that good. So between these other choices, I think I'm just going to come down here and take this Maokai. He has a pretty good early game package. He's already built up with a Black Spear. Um, I have to double check on the Ancient Evil pool. I don't think like Vengeance lives here. Vengeance being just a real backbreaker as far as if you have Lux on the board and Vengeance a unit and then get a final spark, you usually just win the game on the spot. And I think this is all around a pretty powerful pairing. We could look to go to Vladimir. There are some barriers within the Lux set of cards, but in general, I don't think this theme plays out too well. This used to be a theme with Vladimir and Garen, to where you'd be trying to play, try to be playing barriers and trying to play tough units, and then you play, blood for blood on your tough unit. It doesn't take any damage because of tough, but it still takes up your Vladimir. I just don't think that's a theme worth pursuing. And so let's take a quick peek at this Ancient Evil Maokai real quick. Let me see. Where you at, my friend? So I don't think Vengeance lives here. Does not, but I still want to check out the spells that we could potentially pick up. So like Black Spear is of course great. Glimpse Beyond is a nice way to kind of keep our card advantage rolling. Not super important. Typically, Final Spark is enough card advantage to just get you through any game. But we don't have 3 Luxes until after we get 3 wins, and so it's kind of something that you have to account for at the beginning of the trial. Looks like we'd be counting on Crumble as the big removal spell, which unfortunately only costs 5 mana. And yeah, the big boy in Vengeance doesn't live here. Grasp of the Undying. I can't remember if I talked about Grasp. Costs 5 mana, not a bad deal. But I think we can get something pretty reasonable going together with this. I would have preferred to have seen like another Demacia champion or a Shurima champion, but I'm happy enough to pick up the Maokai here. Okay, and so the thing, kind of like the meta thing I find out of these drafts is if we come over here and take Screeching Dragon Cadrigen, we're gonna see these dragons over and over and over and over again throughout the rest of the draft. Now, I'm not like completely opposed to that, but if again, like our big theme, if we're gonna like put our foot down and say, hey, the big card that we want to see the rest of the way is Remembrance, then the Fists of the Dragon isn't going to do it for us. Kind of the way that we're set up here is if Grand Moment shows up, then we have the opportunity for Remembrance. If Redemption shows up, that's the Lucian Callista pool, we have the opportunity to hit Remembrance, but we're going to kind of start like weakening our chances if we take this Screeching Dragon. And so on kind of the same deal as kind of like the key packs we want to be showing up, we want it to be Grand Moments. It should be showing up the remainder of the way anyways, but if we have our packs show up like this, we definitely want 2 Demacia packs like here in the second and third column and 1 Shadow Isles, as opposed to 2 Shadow Isles and 1 Demacia. And so I'm going to go ahead and just lead off with this Grand Moments pack. I concede that this is objectively the worst set of cards out of the 3 packs, but if we're thinking on the grander scale of what we want to kind of like shape up the packs that show up in the future, I think we need to be taking this Grand Moments pack. Okay, that's more like it. Starting out with a Reinforcements and a Screeching Dragon looks pretty good to me. I wouldn't be like completely opposed to taking a Shurima pack if one shows up. I do like having the Challenger spells and the Challenger units, but we'll just wait and see how things play out at that end. Okay, and so not a super strong set of cards here. The best of all of these being the Black Spear, but we don't really want Cursed Keepers. We're not going to be super likely to have ways to actually kill this unit off, and it's going to be pretty weak in our deck here. And so between all of these, I'm a big like non-fan of Silverwing Diver. Like I think we can get some pretty decent synergies out of Greathorn Companion. You tend to find that you have these rando spells like Back to Back and Redoubled Valor that play fantastically with Scouts, and so he's happy enough to make an appearance in our deck here. Okay, and then we did talk about the potential to pick up some Shurima. I think I'm going to skip out on it here. I do like the idea of these Challenger cards being added to our deck, but none of these are spells, and I do still intend on drafting towards the Lux here. We have a pretty good start, even though we haven't seen any Remembrances pop up. Having the Reinforcements, Redoubled Valor back to back is a pretty good start to getting the Mage Seeker cards kind of going. So I am going to just take the Elite pile. The Vanguard Squire is pretty weak, but we should be able to get some pretty good usage out of Honored Lords, just by means of maybe having a the one cost dude, the Umbrella Maker, and then having like rando things like Confront. I think we can get some good usage out of him. But here, this is the actual perfect pack with the Remembrance and the Succession. Very happy to come in and pick this up. This is how we kind of like want our draft to look as far as these things go. We got the 2 Demacia packs, one of them being Grand Moments, and then we have the 1 Shadow Isles pack, which has a Blighted Caretaker in it, but I'm not passing on Remembrance ever here. Okay, here is the Shadow Isles that we are looking to take, though. Very happy to pick up a Vengeance along with the Spirit Leech. Pretty good. Okay, the real decisions make an appearance. The Mage Seeker Investigator is kind of the premier Mage Seeker coming out and generating these detains. That's who we ultimately want to look to be taking here, but this is a pretty powerful set of elites between Battlesmith and Honored Lord. The Honored Lord, he's good. We do need to find some Umbrella Makers if we're really going to take advantage of him. How deep into elites are we to want to try and take these? We just have the 1 reinforcements, and then we have the Squire is 1, Succession's 2. We have 3 elites up to this point, but this would shoot us up to 5. That's tough. I don't really want to find myself in a spot where I'm passing on these investigators, but this Challenger pack is just way too strong. I'm going to go ahead and take that one. Okay, all right, well, the elites keep on making an appearance. The big thing with Vanguard Sergeant is he does generate 4 Demacias, and so this is an extremely strong pack with something that plays both to our elites and to our Lux. It's pretty good. I'd love to pick up this Atrocity, and Rekindler is typically pretty good in these decks as well, since bringing back Lux is just a humongous amount of mana, but again, these Demacian Steel elites are looking pretty strong. Okay, and then I think we just have to continue on with it. I don't like playing multiple back-to-backs. They tend to just clog up your hand too easily, but we've got another elite with a Radiant Strike. Looks pretty good. Right, well, we're deep enough to not have to like super worry about picking up dragons. This Dragon Chow is like 100% dead, but the Screeching Dragon is just kind of one of these premier late game plays that we can be picking up. Okay, looking good. And so I'm not going to let this Mage Seeker Investigator go. I do still want to stack up a bunch of these. I feel like we've, hit enough Honored Lords. The Gallant Rider is good, but we don't have the Umbrella Makers to start passing out Challenger, so I don't want to go like all in on these. Hopefully we could just kind of like trade into some more of these elite cards that we're looking for. Hey, there we go. We got a Bannerman. That seems pretty good. All right, our last choice here. Ooh, swapping out the Vanguard Squire for a Battlesmith looks pretty good. And so we've gotten pretty deep into the elites here. We're not going to be like super looking to build to Remembrance, but if we could pick up like 1 more reinforcements and then just like a handful of like medium combat tricks like a Riposte or something, I think we'd be looking pretty strong here. I do really like how this has come together. So welcome to the squad, Battlesmith. And then let's go and turn something premium. I do worry that, we're... What do we do? This collection cards. I do worry that we're running out of cards. I know that, like, I just saw myself, like, taking that Vanguard Bannerman and was like, yeah, this is the guy that we're going to have to be turning premium today. But let's take a peek real quick if we've actually drafted anything that's... Oh man, the Silverwing Diver is here to protect my pocketbook. I know, like from a game theory standpoint, that I should be upgrading the Vanguard Bannerman just because we're guaranteed to miss a bunch of allegiances because that's just one of my skills in life. But the Diver's in our deck and ready to go. It's unfortunate that that's not a lead anymore, but kind of is what it is at this point. Right, go looking decent, and so at least kind of the interesting thing. I know that we've like talked quite a bit about trying to get this Remembrance play on 3, but then kind of like the additional thing that we could find ourselves doing with that is playing both Honored Lord, Umbrella Maker, and the Umbrella on turn 4, which sounds like another addition to like quite a powerful opening. And so I think I still want to find some Remembrances. It just kind of depends on how all these cards come together. All right, so with this, I typically do not, recommend keeping 6 drops in your opening hand, but Lux is just so extremely strong that I think that this is okay. So as the draft progresses and we're able to get 3 Luxes into our deck, then I won't do things like this, but only having 1 copy in our deck and her being so extremely powerful, I am willing to keep this in our opener. And what do we have here? Twisted Fate and Sivir. Get that plunder. Okay.
I have been sent by the king himself.
Don't really want to get too aggressive on this board. I feel like opponent is probably going to be flooding out the board since he's playing with Twisted Fate. And so I'm thinking I just want to pass here, although we do need to get some usage out of these Radiants, so it should be tough with him to interact through a Radiant Strike. He wants to play a Ruthless Predator to win this combat, then more power to you. If he has the parlay to take him down afterwards, then good job. If we get the 2 for 2, it's kind of okay. Nice. Interesting. All right, well, we do need to kind of keep playing on curve here. We could look to do like the Battlesmith and then just overdraw that 2 mana and then play reinforcements on our next turn, but I think we really just want to be building towards this Lux. So we can play, well, I think this is still fine.
Magic has no place here.
Let's just try to go for the maximum value here. He's not being any kind of aggressive after playing this Butcher, and then he didn't have a 3 or a 2, and so I think we can probably, even assuming opponent's going to be kind of on like a big card plan, I think that our big card plan is better than his big card plan.
Each a grain of sand in a mighty desert.
We playing bilge rules, son?
Okay, seems good.
Arda's gonna make a meal of them.
Sure. Choice, he can't take this down with any of his cards. Gonna need a combat trick to take this down. It's the only combat tricks in these factions is Ruthless Predator.
We march.
Trick shot.
No honor in this.
Taking 5. It's not a big deal. The thing here is, if I did the mathematics right on this, which probably didn't, it's just kind of standard. On turn 7, when we're playing the reinforcements, we want to also be able to play Battlesmith, so that would be 10 mana. So we could have played the Radiant, but I think it turned out okay. Did we math that right? This costs 8 and 2 is 10. So next turn was 7 mana. Yeah, okay. What happened there? Oh wow, he actually hit all units with this thing. Oh. I think I'm ready to just make a trade here. Since he only has 1 health, he's not super valuable as far as generating attacks over and over again. Sure. Look at that, I did the mathematics right though. Oh man, it feels so good to do basic arithmetic properly. Do we get overran if we go on the Battlesmith plan? probably do. Yeah. Let's not go super greed mode, I guess. This gets us pretty far along in winning this game.
Pushing my limits.
I know, my man. I know. We did a strategy. Okay.
By the light.
So that one costs 0. We can do the Investigator Radiant Strike Detain this turn.
This place
Should
reeks of
be enough to
foul
close
magic.
this out.
Rude.
A game. Go on then.
There's the 5 mana. Okay. Get the mana off of that. It's a little unfortunate. Okay. We're still looking pretty good otherwise.
For the fallen!
You get yourself in there, Battlesmith. You're about to do some combat.
Something the matter.
Okay.
Beaten down.
Alright, I think we're fine. We have more cards on board and in hand than him, and so should be pretty tough for him to recover through this.
Gotta go with the flow.
Sad facing, I know. So much sad faces. Single card filtered goods. Okay. Did that make him deep when he drew my card?
History is whatever.
Okay. Still seem fine. You ever want to get Lux involved in this combat?
Put an end to
Probably.
magic.
We have the means to protect her here.
Dust on the winds. We'll rise. Ah!
Let's just keep playing cards.
The Demacian soldiers
Pretty,
were
it's a pretty good strategy, right? Just play some cards.
The sun disk shines on us all.
Some Black Spear, Succession, and then Final Spark off of his Inspired Marshal. We're doing it.
A beacon through the dark.
Blessing.
Okay. Dragon Chow, hells yeah. We gotta get this thing out of our deck.
Deal me in.
Okay. I would suspect he's going to play the 4 Demacia just to try to wear out some of our board, but his top rights it as well.
The superior tactic is to never give up.
Never give up. I believe in that, Lux. I believe in it. Okay, I'm going to continue to take the Luxes regardless of what's with her. Coming with a Remembrance is a pretty good deal, so happy enough to take that stack. I did see the Umbrella Maker down there with Jarvan, but not quite strong enough for us to chase after. Okay. Alrighty, Nocturne Darius. Champions. So, I mean, we probably have to keep the Honored Lord. I do want to do this thing to where we just play Remembrance on the third turn. Just if our opponent starts with like a Legion Rearguard, then we probably need a way to kind of pivot out of the Remembrance plan. So we'll pass, see what happens here. If he plays a 1-drop, then we might have to think differently, but without a 1, I think we're good to just play the Remembrance now. Oh, oh man. This is the way I like starting off against Noxus decks. Okay. See if we hit the Great Horn Companion for the big scout hits. Nice. Haunted Relic. The hell? Okay. Got a Haunted Relic. When are we gonna just make the 10-10 scout? Okay. Weird set of cards. Have some choices. We can. Looks okay. You're gonna start doing Mist Wraith stuff. We can try to like double up on the Great Horn Companions next turn, or we can move away from that, go to the elites, and then have access to this Radiant Strike. I think I just want to go with the elites, but it's like when we're just slamming our units into Mist Wraiths, they tend to just be bigger than our units anyways, and just like trade with anything in the game. It's tough for us to kind of get value out of this stuff, but
Dangerous out there. Take this.
deal with these for a turn, I guess.
Split their skin, watch them die.
Sturdy blades, custom.
Cut them, kill them. More. Soon.
Going with the suckers. So yeah, we have that big time choice as to what to get going here. We probably have to get our blockers on board. As long as we have time, I don't think we lose this game against the weird Mist Wraith deck.
I have been sent by the king himself.
Say what up to my stats. Oh, okay. Easy enough, I guess. I said, hey man, say what up to my stats, and he's like, nah. Nah. No hellos today. I'm just gonna peace on out. Alright, we can get rid of Dragon Chow. It's tough seeing the Remembrance down here. I would typically trade just about anything for Remembrance, but the Dragon Chow is just a completely dead card in our deck. We have like 1 dragon, 2 dragons, and it's just not worth the effort to have in here. So, welcome to the team, Swiftwing Lancer. Probably some elites here. 2 Garen deck. Do the elite thing if we want. That would be something like this. I think our hand is a little bit too strong to just try and like hard mulligan to Remembrance. Okay. Found it anyways. What you got, my man? Yeah, I'm just gonna play the Remembrance. it's a touch awkward with this stuff when we have the Bannerman in our hand and you're really wanting to just completely play on curve and get as many cheap units on the board as you can. That's just not how the makeup of our hand looks here.
I just may have an answer.
Well, that was such a big decision. He has some of the other 2-drops to go along with this. This doesn't really do anything unless you're playing against an aggressive deck, since you don't get the dragon that you can play until, usually turn 5.
Follow the tracks.
Gotta get something. There's an argument to just like play the succession as a means to keep that spell mana banked for a Lux, because we only have like the 2 Mage Seekers in our deck, but I think this is okay. Seeing when the confront, it should be tough for him to get units on board though that can really interact with the cavalry. So let's just try and get the Silverwing Diver going. Maokai is who we want to play next turn, but this turn I think the Diver's fine. I do kind of want to hang on to my spells from this point forward, if we're able to. Just so when we draw Lux, we have a little bit of fuel for the final sparks. Okay, interesting. Wonder if he's going to Bannerman us next turn. Why would he play the Vanguards now? Doesn't seem like they're doing anything. Like, do we even really want to get Maokai down when we have the Great Horn Companion? And looks like we've just picked up back-to-back as well, which could be pretty strong. If we're back-to-back into this thing, he's gonna hook our Silverwing Diver. Doesn't seem particularly good, but let's just pass. Didn't want him to be hooking our Great Horn Companion. Well, now that he has this 2-attack unit, we probably just need to play Maokai.
Tend this garden.
So we have the 7. If we want, we can just play Confront this turn. Like, confronting the Vanguard Cavalry seems pretty decent. This doesn't feel like a Bannerman turn. Let's do this. Let's add the Vanguard Sergeant so that we get the unit. Give him an opportunity to play something, and then we can kind of decide a little bit later if we want to play a Confront.
I must reach the king.
Doesn't seem relevant.
Glory unrelenting.
Sound the alarm!
You don't understand.
Okay. The tricks, beautiful.
My message.
Oof.
Thrumming strings
Sure.
like dance.
Get it banked up. Don't see a reason to add a succession. Honored
The
Lord.
young prince will be found.
Need more board against this. What's gonna happen? Say like he Honored Lord hooks Vanguard Sergeant. Doesn't matter. Honored Lord hooks Maokai. Hooks the Sergeant with the Challenger. Has some other reasonable attacks after that. I think we can pass. It's fine. Feels like he's gonna have like some kind of trick and we may need to back this turn. But see, I don't really care about losing too much of this. Also just add a unit to get the sapling out of Maokai, so we have an additional blocker. But the way I'm kind of like foreseeing this turn is he does whatever. I mean, his hooks right now don't seem that good. if we have to play back-to-back, that kind of sucks. But like the ideal thing I think we would be able to do is to add the Screeching Dragon, and then I'm sorry, add the Great Horn Companion, and then next turn we just play Bannerman and 4 Demacia.
One banner, one destiny.
Bad as that. These hooks just got good, right? This hook's Maokai. These still hook the same thing. Need to add a unit. Ever want to just Bannerman now so we can still back-to-back? Kind of dig it.
A symbol worth fighting for.
That animation took forever. I was like, we missed it, didn't we? I was like, we really missed our hit here. Okay. Sergeant.
Keep the pace. Here, dog.
Okay.
You won't leave a scratch.
That's it? Okay. Alright, so what are we doing next turn? We ever have the 11 mana for this? It's like we'll be up at 8, 9, 10, 11. If we want to play both the Great Horn Companion and the 4 Demacia, it's like we can. Let's hang on to Succession. There's not a whole lot of difference between adding Succession and adding Honored Lord.
Experience gives.
So we'll keep this just for if we ever draw Lux. Okay. Ideally, we should just be able to like full clear his board without losing anything. Here to make things awkward right on time. Can't complain about drawing Lux, but alright, I still like this. We'll get some usage out of Lux eventually. This does nothing. If he has like a Vengeance, that's completely fine.
One little snip. Tangled.
Life feeds on death.
So we lose our companion this way, but I assume he has to just make blocks across the board otherwise. No spells particularly scary. If he wants to like back-to-back, it's not taking down our units that matter. At the end of the day, this board should be cleared. Still have our units that matter. We're set up to get Lux going on his turn.
Soldiers, to me!
The idea for next turn is we want to be able to just play Lux here and have him not really be able to interact with her, and then next turn we can double Final Spark. So I think we should be okay here, assuming he doesn't have the Vengeance. He didn't Vengeance last turn, so I don't feel like he probably has Vengeance this turn. This all looks good. So 3 is going to hook Maokai. These smaller hooks don't really matter. We'll have the sapling to prevent a non-challenge attack from happening. Pretty good. He needs a ping. Okay, good. He's hooking Maokai, so we should be pretty well suited to just take this one down.
The forest.
And with this turn, I'm gonna start with the succession, Because I want to be able to back on the stack if that's what we need to do to get another final spark. But now we can burst out all of our spells if we want. So the way I'm kind of thinking of this is like I want to add Hapless Aristocrat just to kind of keep the game rolling. I'm going to play Confront after that to get the final spark, try to take down Cytheria, then we'll see what we can do in combat with the back-to-back.
What's that noise?
I've been hiding my light too long.
Don't hide your light, Lux. Okay.
A beacon through the dark.
That it? Is that all you got? So I'm thinking of playing back-to-back on Lux and on Hapless Aristocrat. He probably just has enough stuff where we could just do it in the middle of combat, but I want to attack with Cytheria, or attack with Lux and have her not get blocked by Cytheria. Attacks don't look that spectacular otherwise, but let's spread the damage out. We should at least be able to hook anything scary with our Vanguard Cavalry.
No more holding back.
For Demas.
It's annoying.
Charge!
Okay. It's double annoying. Okay. Still think we're in a fine spot. If we draw like any of our big spells, like Remembrance back-to-back, Redoubled Valor, Vengeance, Reinforcements, it's just like so huge. Getting a basic 2-for-1.
I have been
So this attack is not good, so we'll see how he plans on dealing with this.
You have to get me out of here.
None of these cards are worth a Vengeance, and we're not really at a part where our mana matters. So if he just sent it back to us, I'd have been okay with that.
A beacon through the dark.
Oh, another Screeching Dragon. The idea behind that set of plays was I just planned on hooking the Badger Bear with the Screeching Dragon anyways. So I wasn't super worried about like trying to get these smaller units into combat. Do this. We'll let Garen hang out behind. It's a little scary if he has a combat trick. Now we should be able to just pretty close to taking this down on our next turn. Oh, okay, sorry. But nothing happened there at the end. I had to take a phone call, so I stopped recording, and then the opponent just conceded. And so, easy peasy. Buy a house, they said. It will be fun. But all right, here we go. We got a third Lux along with the Remembrance. I don't like having 3 back-to-backs, but this, something that we're willing to trade away pretty easily if it comes with a cheaper set of cards. But our third Lux, our third Remembrance, we're pretty rolling here as far as having the deck together and everything. So good deal. Let's move forward. Yeah, we bought a house here recently. Finished doing all the wallpaper. Got to take down like 4 rooms worth of wallpaper. That was a effing delight. Gotta get these other random electricians and stuff scheduled. But alrighty, back to the lands of Runeterra and out of our earthly problems. Let's see. We just look for things a little bit cheaper here against the tokens deck. I don't think we line up against this too well. This might be a pretty tough matchup for us, but We'll see. We can get some stats on the board and have the means to really handle like the blades. So we'll see. As long as you're able to kind of like get bigger than them, it tends to seem like it's an okay matchup. But so we have a lot of ways to just deal with an Azir, whether or not it's just like big units like Great Horn Companion or our big removal suite that can actually handle a unit his size.
Quietly.
The finest Demosian steel.
So Emperor's Diaz seems like a reasonable go at it for us. Have to deal with the
Catch me if you can.
additional sand soldiers. Okay. Let's start getting our big boys online. If we play a 2, we can Remembrance next turn, so this works out pretty well. I was going to play the 2 anyways because I figure we can get a little bit of value out of this Vanguard Redeemer, but getting the Remembrance down next turn will be nice.
You need not follow, but you will witness.
Okay. I don't think he ever blocks here with the Zazir.
Looking for this?
Then if he opens back on us, this isn't a big deal. And then if he wants to add a unit, we get to add our big boy with Remembrance. It should do quite a bit of work as far as shutting down his attacks. Like, he can still attack and make a Sand Soldier, but he can't get his Azir in here. We can, like, whittle down the amount of dudes that he's able to put on the board. Make Azir actually get into combat. Pretty useful.
Hands are for fortune, not fighting.
Okay. He has a combat trick onto Battlesmith. It's not the end of the world. It's just not ideal.
Stand down.
Could have considered, man, if we lost a unit there and we have the opportunity to hit a Radiant Guardian, would have been kind of big. But all right, we got a 5/5.
Sway down from the trees.
Sharpen my blade for you.
Willing to lose Battlesmith? We can probably hang on to him for another turn or two. I think this is fine.
Falling. My blood.
It seems a little too slow to try and get this Great Horn Companion down. So we'll just attack with the one that we have, looking to get Honored Lord Vanguard Redeemer on the board. Get a bunch of stats to throw in front of his Sand Soldiers. Zir is pretty close to leveling, but we're looking pretty strong.
When rhythm takes hold, there is no...
Tell the people what you have seen today. Arise.
Right, I think we just have to add units and then plan to back next turn. Playing this really weird, like he has a combat trick he just hasn't decided to play yet. This is fine.
Remember the fallen.
Years take, experience gives.
Okay. As long as he doesn't have blade dances, this isn't that bad. He has like a
Steady your
blade
heart.
dance.
No honor in this.
I think I just want a succession here. I was talking about playing a back-to-back, but it's pretty tough for him to have another blade dance. He has to specifically have the ribbon dancer. I think that's what it's called, the 2-cost one. So we can handle this board pretty reasonably well otherwise. Especially if he attacks with Azir and we get to take him down with Black Spear. What you got, duder? Thinking about it. Said, "Oh snap! I better drop my phone in the toilet."
Commands. Face me. Sharpen my blade for you.
Okay, I think we can take the 3, go to 8. It's not a big deal. Getting further and further ahead on board. Get to bank the 3 here, which is pretty good. Can we ever line this up well to get a back-to-back in? Have to play Bannerman for that. I think that's okay. It's just the Greathorn Companion is not super intimidating into his 2/6, so we'll see if we can't back-to-back through Azir.
Destiny calls. The order is given. Arise.
Goes up to 6/6. We just kill him here, I think. Well, he can have a... he'd need like a Ruthless Predator.
Do not waver.
So he hits us for 6. And then we get to swing back for 1,000,000.
I don't make them for the shelf.
Got him. Get out of here, tokens deck. Okay. Tough little set. I think we want to skip all of these. I would love to be picking up this Penitent Squire, but I think the successions are too important here. It plays both to our Elite theme and plays to our Lux theme. So I want to hang on to these double synergies. This Mage Seeker for Screeching Dragon's not a bad deal, but like our curve is getting pretty out of whack here, and I would rather have a 4 than have a another expensive and Screeching Dragon. And with the Insider, it does play quite well into the Remembrance into Insider. Remembrance on 3, Insider on 4, so it does fit our curve nicely. I don't want Soul Gorgers, so we can skip this. As far as this deck goes, cards we're kind of like wanting to trade out would be Hapless Aristocrat, Confront. I don't like Silverwing Divers. Spirit Leech is okay to hang on to. And then we want to get rid of some of this expensive stuff. I'd like to get rid of some back-to-backs and Redoubled Valor. If we could kind of like at least swap some of this for Reinforcements or Vengeance, that would be nice. But, excuse me, we need to get some of this expensive stuff out of here. 10 6-drops is way too many. What up, Doug? He's playing like Fearsomes with Ash or something. Kind of strange. But I think we want to just get rid of all of this. Again, the big things we're looking for would be like Remembrance or Battlesmiths or even Honored Lords, just to have something to do in the early game. So there's like arguments to hang on to the likes of Maokai, but I'd rather just mulligan away and look for the cards we actually want in the early game. Could have added the Lord, but I'd like to bank into this mana.
I have been sent by the king himself.
Okay. Doing something. Unspeakable Horror? Sure. We'll find a better block. The big thing with Honored Lord in this matchup should be that he can block a Fearsome. So I have to assume this Callista Nocturne deck is trying to get a bunch of Fearsomes going. The addition of Wraithcaller makes that seem ultimately more likely.
Magic has no place here.
This reeks of an additional unspeakable horror, but that's fine. That's not that bad.
Cretin.
None of this is worthy of a black spear. I don't think we're going to see too much more fearsomes along the way. We'll see, but kind of feels like I shouldn't say. I meant to say probably won't see too much in the way of Mist Wraiths. It doesn't seem like he's really trying to do a Mist Wraith style deck, but it's okay. Sure. Are we ever cute enough to just pass? I don't think so. Okay, because he doesn't want to play a unit into us, and so I could see a world where that's okay. But this doesn't seem right. We'll just swing the dragon in, right? Because he won't play his unit now. That's just going to get killed by the dragon. Like he won't just add a 3/3 here. But this is okay. Like, Black Spear is the only thing that makes this kind of suck. Nocturne's fine. How do we feel? I think we can probably just go ahead and drop Lux. We have the second Lux for the Prismatic Barrier in our hand. And then, so we can either go about it that way, or we can just let her die if that's the way it goes. He's played 2 Unspeakable Horrors up to this point, so he shouldn't be super likely to have a bunch more Unspeakable Horrors, but you know, it's no guarantee. Okay. Hang on to our Lux. It feels a little bit safer. And then we can go ahead and Black Spear here. This will count as 3 mana, and then next turn we have the 5 mana to add one of our big boys along with the Prismatic Barrier. So this looks pretty strong. Oh, we're only at 7. Oops. Those bust mathematics just not working out again. We're probably pretty safe to just go ahead and tap out, though. See what he adds. I think actually if he just passes, we'll just pass here. This is good. This 2 damage is pretty meaningless at this point. Tall Tales. Okay. But we can also try to just bank into reinforcements. So that's where things line up a little bit better. Is a companion better than the Swiftwing Lancer? I definitely want to play a unit that can kill an Enraged Yeti. This seems better. This board's not too scary here.
Night covers the land.
Oh.
Our time is now.
Some damages. Alright, well, let's go ahead and take some of this out. I don't want to be taking a full 10 blasting from his elusives here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's how we lose this game. Alright.
Under cover of night.
Well, I've not taken the 8 hit, so we'll let that one slide out. We can add Honored Lord. It is a bit unfortunate, like our reinforcements can't battle with an Enraged Yeti. But
The young prince will be found.
This is okay. I mean, I guess if we want, we can just attack first. See how he wants to block our stuff. So don't want to attack with Lux or the Great Horn Companion, but these other ones all seem fine. Have we changed our opinion now that he killed our Lux? We'd just be trading the Companion for a Cygnus. Like that.
We won't be silenced.
Okay.
Take my helmet.
Works for me. I have to imagine our late game is just better than his late game. My imagination was a little off. Okay. Oh, Jarvans. So, I mean, is like Vengeance our only answer to this thing? Get Vengeance, or we could get a Silverwing thing. I'm just trying to think if we need to like actually just be on a draw cards plan as opposed to playing a Screeching Dragon. Well, I think at least this way, if we can't, do anything with the Screeching Dragon, we can play Battle Spirit Leech, and then if it comes to playing Vengeance, we can play Vengeance on his turn, or if we draw the Investigator, we can play the Detain on our turn, and then, or we can play the unit on our turn, then Detain on his turn.
Find it and forge it. You won't want it. Sturdy blades, custom made.
We have to keep the stats. We can't do that. I was going to say, let's just go ahead and hook his Enraged Yeti, but we need this 5 health to put in front of his They Who Endure. Yeah. That's not going to do it. We can still draw Vengeance and get out of this, but probably just dead. Yep. That's the way it goes, though, right? As soon as you call out, we probably have better late game than them. Then he plays the 11-11 They Who Endure. What can you do? So, all right, let's see if we can make some trades here. I'm fine to trade out Great Horn Companion. These are just kind of like okay-ish in our deck, but we have way too much top end here. So we get the expensive spell generator, at least in early game play. Let's see if we can't save this one. It's certainly a good deck. Curve's a little high, but we have all the tools we need. One of the kind of problems you run into with Lux if you don't have a bunch of the Mage Seeker Investigators is big units like that. It's the problem you typically run into with like a Piltover deck, to where all your removal is damaged based. So if our removal is mainly just Final Sparks, then 11-11s are kind of tough to deal with. But we made some decisions along the way not to take every Mage Seeker Investigator that we saw. So that kind of is what it is. Right. So we have to hang on to Silverwing Diver here. If opponent has Teemo, we need the means to block it. But otherwise, if he doesn't start with Teemo, then we're planning on moving forward with the Remembrance plan. I guess we can't play the Diver before Remembrance anyways, but see if he's got that. See if he's got that little guy on turn 1. Yep.
Another day in the field.
Okay. This could be bad. Like I said, we don't have a lot of removal that interacts favorably with the Teemo.
You hold this.
But we can high roll a dragon here as well, so maybe we'll just hit a Screeching Dragon with our Remembrance. Nope. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if he brings this open on us. He does.
More mushrooms.
I mean, we don't really even need to get the diver on the board now. So what's our intent here? I think I want to just get the investigator going, because I don't think we'll ever have to detain Teemo, but I want to keep the mana for this Radiant Strike, so now we can get the Screeching Dragon going. The only way this would like potentially turn out fairly awkward is if he has the like an additional Teemo in his hand.
Seek and silence.
More for my collection.
That additional damage on our dragon. Let's make him at least make a bigger investment in this thing.
My collection.
Yeah, 13 puff caps. I don't think there's punishes for us adding the diver now. I would like to start banking mana if we're able to. Okay, good, good. Beautiful, we picked up the Lux, so her flip will be active in our hand now as well.
Everywhere.
Oh, don't you worry about me.
Root them out.
Don't plan to barrier into this combat, but we'll see what happens. Like we're starting to get pretty far ahead. Yeah, there's a bug flying in front of my computer. I'm gonna clap it and get it here. Sorry if loud noises make an appearance in this trial, but it's gotta go.
Never one.
Without the other.
Okay, get a slay here. Not quite yet. Okay, this seems good. Let's see what he does and how fast he taps his mana here. We have the detain onto Kindred if we want, and I would kind of like to hang on to the prismatic barrier.
This is
Okay,
my choice.
whatever your play is, I'll take the bait.
We're in this together.
Let's just go ahead and do it. Let's spew it all out here and get our final spark while we're at it.
I've been hiding my light too long.
So if he has like a thermogenic beam, then this play turned out kind of awkward, but otherwise this is good. And then probably doesn't want to play any units into our final spark. Okay. Now I can't imagine he has a vengeance here, so I'm just going to open back to back. Figure he would have played a Vengeance onto our Lux last turn if he actually had a play. Like if you're sitting there with Kindred against Detain and a Lux, you're gonna play your Vengeance. So felt like that was pretty safe.
The superior tactic is to never give up.
Hey, let's improve. So, so as we sit around and bitch about our curve, we're gonna actually trade out Confront for reinforcements now, and so that's that's how you make your curve better. Is you trade out your 3-drops for your 8-drops. But no, it's just so good in this deck. Between the handful of elites we have to have like 8 elites or so. In addition to being fantastic with Lux, fantastic with Mage Seekers, all around great card here. We do need to do a bit of curve work here. If we do fail to 7-win this trial, I would say probably like 80% chance it's because of our curve, like 10% chance because I messed up, and then another 10% chance to other influences. So it's not like the most spectacular of decks you could piece together, but it is pretty strong. Okay, so we're going to be up against the challengers. 2 Jarvans. I think I want to just be on the Remembrance plan. You have to kind of make the decision when you see hands starting out like this if you want to play slow and do like Lux on 6, Remembrance on 7, and then have your early game be Battlesmith Succession. I just worry that if we get into this like Battlesmith Succession plan, he's just going to get us with an Umbrellaed Honored Lord.
Sturdy blades, custom made.
Good. I don't like how we can't interact with this, but
I mustn't stop.
right. Could see an argument for just playing the Vanguard Sergeant and then next turn trying to do Battlesmith Succession, but it's turned out nice.
I'll write my own story.
So he needs a riposte here. We're definitely going to go ahead and slam our dragon into this. Not giving him the chance to get any more +1/+1s. Good.
Beaten down.
I think we want to add in the Vanguard Sergeant. Just start banking up a little bit.
We must all do our duty.
Challenger Sivir. Ugh. It's kind of gross.
A Demacian soldier is worth 10 foes.
Have good answers to this. Touch awkward as well. I want to.
Business as usual.
Okay, good. He's hitting. Wow, he leaves our challenger dragon. Why would you ever do that? Just because if we have prismatic barrier, that would be the reasoning. Okay. Good. Now this works. We get to bank into the 3 mana and then have our Lux with the banked
I
mana
serve
next
my
turn.
people with pride.
Seems pretty good.
The sun is shining. We should too.
Definitely have the barrier now. Our attack's a little scary. It seems like he's, going to try and be the aggro here. So if we can slow this down a little bit and get our spells going, I think this is pretty good. So the punish from him here would be back to back.
I'll protect you.
We'll see if that's what he's got. But I think he's probably only going to be able to get out of one of these. We save Shyvana. Interesting. Or are you just going to have multiple cards? Interesting. Want to start sparking it? Spark it up? I think so. So this can be a little risky. If he has a single combat, it gives him an opportunity to take down our Lux. But I want to get these. I want to get all these elites going, so we can, if everything goes as according to plan here, we'll be able to succession. This will give us a final spark. We'll have the 2 mana banked up, and the next turn we can reinforcements. It's going to give us another final spark, and then we're going to make 5/5 units off of it. Just have a big old board here. And my intent is to final spark Shyvana, so that if he wants to block with Shyvana next turn, then she's going to have a small amount of health. So ideally this way.
A dragon's reach long.
Because we have final spark in our hand. Oh, he got the Fury. Okay, so I mean, at least ideally this way, he'd have to spend 2 cards next turn to protect her. Didn't pick up any plays. The reinforcements it is. Thinking about something. Another single combat. Preemptively riposts. And then there's the single combat. Okay.
Nowhere to
It's unfortunate.
Now I take to the sky.
We may still have to block with her though. And then we don't have the mana now, but we can try and get her with the detain. Holy shit, she has so much health. Ugh.
We strike.
But I think we can get out of this. He's gonna definitely get some work done with this Shyvana, but between the detains and stuff, I think we're fine.
I won't back down.
I don't want to add the conservator. Well,
Years take, experience gives.
yeah, we shouldn't do that. It's gonna let him heal her.
All natural skill, all natural goes.
So we're gonna have to play a bit of a game as far as taking this Shyvana down with the detain goes. Since he's gonna get the single combat into his hand.
Face me.
There is my second.
Take my helmet.
Probably just wait until our next turn to do it. We have some bad units we can add to the board,
Root
like the
out
conservator.
magic. At its source.
Any more twos? We could add a battlesmith, which is fine to just lose at this point.
It's dangerous.
And
out
I think
there.
he'll just let
Take
the
this.
strafing strike go, because that's what's keeping us from playing the detain onto his units. Okay, start with this. It's been detained. The dragon's kind of scary. He knows that we have 4 Demacia in our hand, so he shouldn't be able to open with this, but see. And like, these are definitely coming in, you're definitely coming in.
Nothing escapes my notice.
I think the 4/4 is okay, so if he wants to hook next turn, then he'll at least kill his Screeching Dragon in the trade.
Meet them head on. You will not prevail. Avenge me. Bring him home. Contain
But yeah, we get a cool one. We can Shadow Flare something. Okay. It's a way to take down his Screeching Dragon, I guess. Oh, and a Jarvan.
Is but to do and die.
Okay.
To the flag! Soldiers of Demacia! Stand with me!
Alright, we see your animation, Jarvan. Enjoy the event. What? He had Ephemeral. Why didn't he die? Oh, it's followers. Okay, it's not champions or allies.
Contain the arcane.
Right. So we may have to try and do this with like Silverwing Divers in the 4 Demacia. He's got his own 4 Demacia, so we can kind of like counter a little bit of what we're doing, but
To the flag! A symbol worth fighting for.
we missed. That's about right. I guess we are getting pretty thin. We haven't drawn any Shadow Isles cards this game. I guess there's a 25% chance to miss. Yeah, this is pretty bad.
For the king! Take my helmet.
So does the 4 Demacia even get us anywhere? And like strafing strike beforehand onto the Battlesmith. It's like if our health was a little different, I could see this. I'm thinking he played the Cataclysm, so I immediately thought that he was going to get a rally. That's not the case here. So he has the single combat. He could play before we 4 Demacia on like our Battlesmith. I think I like it. I'm just kind of like trying to imagine how we win this game, and I think we need to just get in like a touch of damage now, and then next turn we can try to get this like double Silverwing Diver plus 4 Demacia attack in and hitting for 10. Okay.
For the fallen!
And like strafing strike down the Battlesmith, which is fine, but he shouldn't be able to win either of these combats unless he has a combat trick in his hand. It seems like he probably just wants to be like trying to strafing strike down our Screeching Dragon. That's... I was going this way with it. Okay. Good. Okay, so we got that chunk of damage in, and that was actually more damage than I suspected. So now that we're in this spot, we can ideally. When we drew Vengeance. Okay. The plan doesn't change that much, but we gotta shut this shit down. We can't let him get a bunch of single combats. I think that's probably gonna win the game for us. Hang on to the divers until after he attacks. I guess he can technically Cataclysm one of our divers. It's a little annoying. We'll see. I don't think he's going to have the answer to both of them. This is a pretty big ask for him to be able to take all this down.
With me!
Or do we just open it? Open's not lethal. Cataclysm number 1, as expected. Okay.
Demacia! Ours is but to do and die.
We play our 4 Demacia. He has to answer both of our units, one of them being elusive. Hopefully this is what does it in. Okay. Can't play his 4 Demacia, he just loses. I guess he could have another like single combat in his hand or something, but have to imagine that this does it.
I don't make them for the show.
Oof, got him. Nice. Game, my man. Okay. Real barn burner. I think that's the right word. I'm not quite sure. But okay. Oh wow, the harrowing just makes an appearance. This is a real interesting one, in that it's got the investigator that we need, but it also has the penitent squire that we need for like our honored lord type cards. This one's pretty close. Probably want to pick up our second investigator. I know there's a harrowing, but we're just gonna let that go. This is it's for an honored lord. Okay, that's tough. That's a tough one. I don't want the divers whatsoever. I know they just did us a pretty good job that game, but this is not a really high valued card for us, and so the lancer, it's kind of a removal spell, I guess, fixing our curve and stuff. But here, this is not particularly exciting. I kind of want to trade out this redoubled valor, but it's like, would I rather have 3 back-to-backs and 1 redoubled valor, or 4 back-to-backs? And I kind of like the utility that comes out of this one. There's not like a lot of matchups where this is super good, but there are some matchups to where you're just like, here's my 10-10 scout, or my gigantic unit, and you can't do anything about it. So I think I do want to keep the utility of this one around. Skip over all these. Hang on to investigator. Want to keep our card advantage in the leech. I could see an argument for trading out this Radiant Strike for the Conservator, but 1-mana combat tricks are so good. Alright, we'll skip that. Okay. Another big time expensive in the Brightsteel formation, but let's pick up another Vanguard Sergeant. This is an early game elite that also gives us a 6-cost spell. So incredibly powerful. Keeping in succession. Don't want Spectral Matron. Last but not least, Cythria. I mean, she's strong. It's not a card I feel like we really need. Okay, we'll skip over that one as well. Off we go. Right to the final battle. I was hoping to fix our curve a little bit there at the end, but didn't quite get the opportunities. And so we'll see. That was a tough Mage Seeker laydown. It was a fairly tough set of cards. A lot of options that you can take with this, but I think I don't know if I want to say that we're an Elites deck with Lux in it or an Lux deck with Elites in it, but it feels like we're a Lux deck with Elites in it, which would make me want to take the Mage Seeker Investigator, but trading out an Honored Lord is such a blow to the early game. It's kind of like a lot of this is these games where you have to kind of like imagine what do you do if you just don't draw your Remembrance. You have to have something to do in the early game, and that's where she really comes in. But right, we'll hang on to Honored Lord, look for some other early plays. I saw this guy pull out his 4 Jarvan deck and was like, yeah, this is going to be the punish for not taking the additional investigators. Detain is fantastic against Jarvan. But, alright. And this is tough. We don't have any Remembrances in our hand now. We'd only have 2 more draws at it, so we're not like a super huge favorite to actually pick them up.
Reach the king.
I would ideally be able to make this play where we play the Remembrance on 3 and then the Penitent Squire, Honored Lord on turn 4-ish. What you got here? Holy Bonky Chompy. Okay. Can handle this pretty well.
For the prince.
prince will be found.
Okay, then how do we get ourselves lined up to have a good reinforcements? That's going to be the big thing we're trying to pull off this game. To get the succession down. We want to play it on 5 with the 3 mana. Then we could only spend 2 mana this turn. Doesn't seem super likely. But it is still just, you know, good to get. Hang on. We can still do this. What about thinking? Okay. We just needed to bank 1 mana, not 2. Perfect.
Years take, experience gives.
Willing to go ahead, and if he wants to attack with his Honored Lord, I'm willing to just throw our Dauntless Vanguard in front of it anyways, because it'll be able to take him down after he's reinforced. Yes, we drew Lux, but this just seems a lot better than like banking into the Honored Lord a few turns from now.
Sing of our deed here, dog.
Feels like we're getting far ahead. I mean, if he has Jarvan next turn, it kind of sucks, but it's manageable. He has to have a Jarvan if he's not blocking with Honored Lord. Well, he's probably just going to play a follow-up unit here, though. Right, he has the Umbrella, he has 4 mana, he's probably going to play like the 4/4 that flips into heavy infantry. Cataclysm.
Keep the pace.
Why? Why wouldn't you just block? Oh, you get the barrier? Okay, sure. Gotcha. But this all seems fine. His Jarvan hit's going to take down a Dauntless Vanguard, which isn't a big deal. We're also lined up to play the Investigator and then just Black Spear him after combat. So this seems pretty good for us.
If it's made of sand, I can ride it.
Okay. Coming Jarvan.
For Befell. With me!
Make way!
I will hold the line. Bring him home.
My boy!
No quarter!
Magic has no place here.
That out of here. Get Lux going now. She should be pretty safe against what he's doing. I think I want to open attack for the 7 and then just play Lux after the fact. And then on his turn, we'll have the mana to both Radiant Strike and Detain.
Keep the pace.
Seems pretty good.
Contest the baton. We have nothing to lose.
Okay.
The star.
Stay safe, milady. Mages are everywhere.
Stay safe, milady.
Don't you worry about me.
No one trespasses.
Coming Jarvan number 2.
Flag!
So cool. Let's see. He has to add something to the board. Doesn't? Nothing? Okay. This thing is. This looks pretty. Oh, just back to back it. Okay. It messes up our mana as far as final sparks go. I guess we should have played the Radiant and then played the back to back. I just got a little sloppy here, but I don't think there's ever any way out of this. Nice, nice. But yeah, could have got the 2 final sparks at the end. That was. I just saw the back to back and was like, this is over. This is done. There's nothing these factions can do about what we presented there. Yeah, nice little 7 winner. And so let's get this pulled up on the old LOR Guardian real quick, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. And so, yeah, I mean, as far as Lux goes, I have her sitting at tier 2 on the tier list. she's gotten pushed out of tier 1 because there's just so much raw power up there now, but she's hanging out in tier 2. And kind of the thing with that is, this deck, it came together pretty reasonably. It has some flaws, but you can run into these awkward these awkward decks if you don't really handle it at the beginning. And so uh, again, the big thing that you're looking for is the Remembrance. That's typically the Lux decks that come together. That I don't have a lot of success with is when we aren't able to find these like 3 or 4 Remembrances, and like we get kind of stuck having to be like and trying to play with like barriers, and barriers are just not as good as having Remembrances, in my opinion. And so, yeah, kind of the big things again that I look at with Lux. I think you should not take the Piltover champions. You don't want to be having Piltover cards in your deck. I just don't think that they play well here. Like the value you get out of adding Flash of Brilliances to your deck, getting the 5/5 for 6 mana added to your deck, and then having things like Mystic Shot and having not Mage Seeker Conservators, the Eager Apprentices. I just don't think that makes up for your decreased ability to get Remembrances and these other actual good cards. And so, just kind of like the big thing with that, we talked about it like quite a bit here recently, as to where you're like, okay, I'm going to build around this champion. Now, how do I maximize that? And it's typically in trying to get, that champion's pack to show up specifically for the faction that they're in, and then have 2 of that faction show up across your packs. And so the real like easy and common example to see is with Garen. And so if you're playing with Garen, you ideally want to see a bunch of Demacia packs on every pack. But then let's say, as far as like the challenger cards go, if you have Shurima in your deck, then your challenger packs out of Shurima aren't going to be 100% Demacia, and then it's also going to limit your ability to find Vanguard Bannerman a little bit later. And so, I know that there's no Bannerman in the challenger pack, but if you're really looking to make this deck stacking like 5 Umbrella Makers and 5 Honored Lords, then you want to see the full Demacia pack out of Challenger, and then you want to see Demacian Steel in every draft pack that shows up. And so the same thing kind of applies here, and like why we passed on Victor is that number one, I don't want the Piltover cards ever showing up in a Grand Moments pack. And then as far as the other packs go with the synergy picks, I don't want Piltover ever showing up if that means it's taking away from a Demacia pack. And so if we can get ourselves this set up to be 100% Demacia, that would be great. But we definitely want to be getting 2 Demacia packs and then 1 of the other faction, as opposed to say having Grand Moments in our deck and we see a double, a full Piltover Grand Moments pack, another Piltover pack, and then a single Demacia pack down the line. That's not like how we maximize our ability to find Remembrances. And so, I've talked to other people. Other people disagree with that, and that's fine. Other people do prefer to go for the more barrier centric approach. That's fine as well. I just don't think it's as good as doing what we're doing here. And so the last thing that this, at least we got to see with this deck, is it does also pivot to elites nicely. And so we could have pretty easily abandoned Lux. I don't remember what our champion pick was at pick 16 and pick 18, but we could have just picked up Garen's or Jarvan's. I think it was Jarvan, but and just like been a full on elites deck. That's like a nice little pivot that you can do here if you're drafting pretty close to being a full Demacia deck, since we had like the 3 Honored Lords, a bunch of Battlesmiths, and the reinforcements. Where if you're drafting Piltover, you can't do that. So yeah, the old Lux in the style of FTP Bust, the big card we're going for is Remembrance. You want to keep in the back of your head that the set of plays that you're looking to do is to play nothing on the first 2 turns and play Remembrance on turn 3. And then otherwise, turn 4 forward, play your Mage Seekers, double up on your early game plays, do whatever it is you can to get that going. Just the thing that can flow awkwardly with these decks, and the thing that may feel a little weird to you if it's one of your first handful of times trying to draft this is, you really don't want to be playing your Conservators and your Honored Lords and such in the first 2 turns. It's ultimately super important to play this Remembrance on 3. And if you spend any mana before turn 3, then you can't do that. And so keep that in the back of your head. Maybe you want to pivot and say, play a a 2-drop on 2 and then not play the Remembrance until turn 4, that's fine. That just know that these games play out a little bit differently than your standard curve deck. But so yeah, the big things we're looking for here, the Remembrances, you got to manage your curve. We did a horrible job managing our curve here. This was not a great example of curve management, but ideally, the way the makeup of your spells looks is you want to have like 3 or 4 successions. You want to have 3 or 4 remembrances. You want to have 2 reinforcements. You want to have 3 or 4 Mage Seeker Investigators, and then that's just kind of like the core of your deck. And then after that, you really just want 1 back-to-back. And that's typically enough as far as the build-around aspect of the deck goes. And then you're just trying to fill in with having a decent curve. And so that's what, where I'll leave you with this deck before we take off for the day. Is the real core of this, the big thing you're looking for, where'd we go? We're losing you. The 3 to 4 investigators, the 3 to 4 remembrance, the 3 to 4 successions, and then the 2 reinforcements. The real core of the deck here. But yeah, that is going to do it for us today. So let's jump around. Let me see if there is a reward or 2 to click on. Looks like we're catching the old diamond chest here. Pretty good. Maybe we'll find a champion, maybe we won't. Epic. What up, Zinnia? It's like I never want Zinnia. It's unfortunate. She looks like she should be so powerful, but it's like way too expensive in every token's deck, and feels bad. Maybe in the future you'll get a shot once Blade Dance has a chance to have some more cards out there. Right, a nice little essence pouch. And that is going to do it for us today. So, I hope we helped you light up your final spark a little bit better. You maybe learned a thing or two along the way. Had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.